I didn't expect to be here. And actually 7 turned out to be 6 because I had limited time. But it's good that I follow up the lady from Reddit, because my subreddit recently has become valve replacement. And it's because in 3 weeks' time I'm gonna have an open heart surgery for something, so I didn't expect to be here. But the trust that I get out of the community to learn from their experience is wonderful. But also, I didn't expect to be here until Kevin and I had lunch, or drinks actually, tea, at the Soho House in November. And he asked me to come speak here with an unusual topic for me about something that you and I can take away from the experience that I had over the last 25 years in how you manage your career. Or how can you take learnings out of this talk and get inspired by taking action. And one thing that I learned in the last couple of months while collecting the stories for this talk is that there is one connective tissue, and that's how we're going through this last 30 minutes. I have a couple of examples which are really nice, and I see my slides are not, yeah, there. I think that we all work with frameworks or experiences, but not everybody takes them with you in the next job or in the next campaign. So sometimes you need to start over again, convincing all of the people in the organization. And it's better to take the frameworks with you and build upon them. And so I have a couple of examples on this. So first of all, let's make sure that we understand the signal, what we can pick up. A good example for this, I don't know if anybody remembers the introduction of the iPad by Steve Jobs. Back then in 2010, Reddit was there, but Dick was older praise. Anybody remember? So actually Dick relaunched last week. But the iPad was introduced by Steve on stage. They rented out the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And in true Apple fashion, they organized a 2-hour commercial that millions of people watched. Can you imagine? 2 million people around the world watching you do a product release. Apple was very secretive about everything about their business, and every the sales numbers or how the product would look like was all focused on bringing that into the one big commercial that Steve managed. So in January 2010, the iPad was introduced. It was only going on for sale in the US and only started in June 2010. So I'm sitting there at eBay as the SEO director. I had the internal searches on eBay and saw a huge spike on Apple iPads in January, while they were not even for sale yet. So I put a plan together. I didn't ask for permission, but I did anyway. I made sure that my boss knew. And in the first 2 weeks of Apple's of the sales on the iPad in June, I pulled the numbers from the backend system, paid a designer $250 on Upwork, and got an article written on the Next Web, which was managed by 2 Dutch friends of mine, You can still read the article on the next web and got massive digital PR coverage. Why? Well, Amanda already called out the term newsjacking. This is a cultural relevant news article, and because Apple never released any data, you could see that if eBay was giving a couple of sales data points, that it would be eaten up by every journalist in the world. So we hit the New York Times, TechCrunch, Gizmodo doesn't exist anymore, 9to5Mac, and many more. A great example on how you can pick up signal and build a story around it for digital PR. It allowed me to get a lot of trust within eBay to build really big systems and get things done on SEO. Previous speaker already said SEO in a large organization is very hard to manage. You actually do more in personal relations than actual technical work. It allowed me to do a large internal linking system, which that slide has disappeared, but we managed the internal linking flow for eBay back in the day. The second part is that eBay is a system, has more than 100 million items on the site every day. And sometimes there are really nice items for sale that carry the value for getting good digital PR. However, eBay never managed to capture that value. Here is a good example of it. I think this is the best well-known example. A woman making a grilled cheese sandwich. She recognized the Virgin Mary in the grilled cheese, and she put it on eBay and sold for $49,000. Other examples, Justin Bieber cut his hair on the Ellen Show for a charity, sold for $35,000, or a little bit touchy feeling here, touchy subject. David Beckham missing a penalty in the qualification round for the World Cup. That ball was sold on eBay as well for €15,000. Now, why is this interesting? Because after the auction ended, after 90 days, that page disappeared. Even that, back in the day, and we're talking about 2010, eBay was constantly in the news with these kind of items. David Letterman had his top things we sold on eBay this week, and with the cards flying, right? Always had interesting items that he was bringing back. But after 90 days, all those internal value that we build up by getting links to these pages disappeared because the page disappeared. We gave it a 404. Can you imagine that? You work so hard to get all that link equity from external sources. And I mean, I saw a slide today, BBC, CNN, Fast Company. We had many links from those editorial newspapers, and we just threw it away. So my internal linking system, we built a new feature on it, and I actually filed a patent on it to harvest these links in an automatic fashion, but the company never built it. And I hope that the CEO who returned to eBay 2 years ago, and he's rebuilding a company, is able to do these kind of things, because back then you had a treasure trove of things that were bought and sold on eBay for many dollars. Could be the trophy chest for a company like eBay. So companies usually destroy a lot of the value that they're creating. Here it is the customer create the item, the value is created by the media, but the company actually destroys it. So here you have two examples of a campaign that worked really well. One, the Apple iPad launch, we actually did a second version of it, similar as the Paris report. It became an annual recurring item because it did so well. We did another one. Building on top of that, data-driven stories. So you could still read that article on the next web. But here you have the example of how value gets destroyed because of the system architecture. So this is where I think that we all can make a choice in how we do things, not only in our career, building frameworks and bringing that with us, but also in campaigns. How many times did you launch a campaign and the next quarter of the next agency, you start from scratch again, and you're going to do it all over again without any kind of learnings from the past? So this is what I would love for your feedback on, if you think this is valuable. In 6 months' time, if I'm back on my feet, I would love for you to send me an email if you happen to take this for yourself. So if you're looking at the system that is destroying value, we can build structure in it that it captures it actually. We talked about internal links today. When I joined Airbnb, it was only a search box on the homepage, so it didn't have an internal linking structure. There was no categorization, there was nothing there, because the founders came from a design-driven background where they aspire to have a Google-like homepage, clean and intuitive for people to use. Where do you want to go? Well, guess what? It doesn't work for SEO, and I was hired for SEO. So knowing this, the internal linking from eBay, the value that we were getting from it, the first thing that I did at Airbnb, I built a pyramid structure, right? Homepage at the top, then your destination pages, and below that your individual Airbnbs. And this is a simplistic way of putting it. It's a great analogy and framework to understand internal linking, but it also helps you in telling the story of a campaign, for instance. And it's not that weird, because ancient civilizations have done this for years, and we're still thinking what the people in Egypt wanted to tell us with the pyramids that also happen to stand in Mexico City, for instance. Same, if you're looking at the pyramids, they have similar dimensions. So I use this to at Airbnb, not only for the SEO and internal linking, but also to drive a couple of campaigns. So normally it's very hard to get links to your PDPs or individual item pages. If I do a backlink analysis back in the day, and I see an e-commerce client or an e-commerce player that has hundreds of links to a boring PDP pages, they're probably artificial. So if you think about how external links usually work, they link to your homepage, and then the link equity is getting distributed throughout your site by your internal linking structure, which is why your internal linking needs to be so well structured. If you put campaigns in the market, you can do a similar thing. You can have a page for your campaign that becomes a link magnet, and from there you can distribute that link equity out to the rest of your pages. That's exactly what we did at Airbnb at a one campaign that you can still see in my LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to show you the video here because it's rather long, but the top of the pyramid was we used that to get a lot of media. The center part of the pyramid, we produced specific content to build a trust. And the bottom of the pyramid were specific travel guides for the city that we're targeting. This was a campaign sent to us by a customer. Her father used to be a guard at a wall in Germany, in Berlin. And they moved away to Denmark, and she wanted to show how wonderful the place had become after the unification in Berlin. And they happened to book an Airbnb because they wanted to stay in the eastern part of Berlin. And the guy who brought the key, they started talking, and he happened to be also a guard at the wall, but at the east side of the wall. So here you have two people meeting each other in the Airbnb, used to be each other's enemies, or so thought to be each other's enemies, and they became friends by talking to each other. Well, we launched this campaign in 2014, and as a resident European in the Airbnb offices in San Francisco, I instantly thought about the significance of the year 2014, because 1989 was the year that the wall came down. So that meant 25-year anniversary being celebrated in 2014. And as I had a lot of colleagues also on the younger age of mine, because I was one of the oldest at Airbnb, they were oblivious of the fact that this was a really cultural relevant moment in time. So we launched this campaign with three objectives. One is get a disproportional amount of media coverage, build brand awareness in Germany, because that was the purpose of it, get more bookings in Germany. And by doing this, we raised the footprint of SEO of Airbnb in Germany. So the campaign wasn't about Airbnb itself. It was carried by the user story, and that's why it worked. I had a secret fourth objective, which was that our new CMO came from Coca-Cola and had been a judge at the Cannes Lions, very well respected in the industry. And my objective was to have him say, like, I hear this from all my friends, why is Airbnb doing this and we're not? So I wanted to see if every CMO in the world is looking at Airbnb with this smaller budget and Coca-Cola. He came from Coca-Cola, $4 billion media marketing budget, and this cost $2 million. So that was my personal objective. And it allows the campaign to travel even longer in time. Because if people talk about your campaign without you being in the room, it means that there is something there that spreads and travels in other communities than you currently are talking to. And I'm glad it worked, because do you know this guy, Will Reynolds? I think he's one of the smartest guys in this world, in our industry. He is always skating where the puck is going to be. And in 2015, he did a keynote in Moscow, and he asked me to get some more information, because he wanted to build his presentation around the background of this campaign. So, of course, Will is a friend of mine. We had many times lunch, dinners, or etc. So I gave him the information, and I got a lot of good feedback from that. But it also extended the campaign, other than only that month in November 2014. It became a campaign living beyond 2015 even, because here he's standing at a stage, 300 people looking at that campaign again. But it also allows me to take this learning and bring it back into 2026, right? I asked Will permission to use these photos a month ago, 2 months ago, and he said, "Oh, I forgot that we were talking about this. Let me refresh it." And so it's got another life going after this. So if you think about how you can architect the system and catch the signal, then you can actually build more on top of that. And I think it's a great example that Reddit brought here from Skoda. We did it in a smaller fashion. The week after the Airbnb campaign, I left Airbnb and I joined Fanatics. And I got a lot of questions from people saying, "Why do you leave Airbnb for Fanatics? What is it?" But my former manager from eBay said, what if we can do everything we wanted to do at eBay, but more without any of the politics? So, and that allowed me to do and work with the frameworks that I put together in a bigger way. And Fanatics is actually a really big company right now. But when I came to Fanatics, I started to build that present layer of the content brand pyramid, and making sure that Fanatics would be found if somebody would type it in. So here's an example of what we did and used the signal where it was relevant. We had a blog where we would produce interesting content around the product that we're selling. And here you're looking at the Seattle Seahawks jersey evolution. And of course, you're getting traffic from that. And then the signal is really the Google Search Console data, and when people are searching for Seattle Seahawks jersey. And so that signal I was interested in, you can see the big spikes when they were actually playing in this particular jersey, which was only played in on the Thursday night. Thursday night football, one game is being played, and they play that in the green jersey. Well, I took that signal to our manufacturing or merchandise team, said, I think there's something here because Seattle fans are really interested in this bright green jersey. And so we tested out some products on the site, and we saw that they were selling really well. So their whole product line was developed from one signal that was not, as eBay did, was losing the value of the signal. We actually did something with it. So every project here that I presented was actually the same project, only in different format. You've got the iPad infographic, which is a data-driven story using a cultural relevant moment, distribution through the Next Web, which was back at the time, a website of two friends of mine. You got the customer equity. They build the equity, you throw it away. You actually could harvest those pages again. You got the content brand pyramid built on top of that notion that internal linking is very valuable. Then you got the wall and chain, which happened to be the link magnet for big media. We got 2.2% of the conversation during the weekend of the Berlin Wall celebration on social media. Then the peer that is showing off my campaign without me being in the room and actually saying, we SEOs get goosebumps from #1 ranking. Dennis actually gets it from a customer story. So I think that's a great compliment. And then the Fanatics jersey, which is a marketing signal, and we could create a product around it. So what it all entails, and I hope you can get inspired by it, is that we all have systems that we build, and we all bring their systems to our next job. How purposely are you in creating those systems? My CMO from Airbnb put a LinkedIn post 2 months ago on LinkedIn asking, hey marketers, you're trusted with millions of dollars of brand budget to build a brand for a company, but have you defined your own brand yet? And that inspired me to think about that as well. What's my brand? How do I come across? And how purposely am I building that brand asset so that when you do a campaign for Coca-Cola for 350,000 Australian dollar, but turns $1 billion in revenue, that it doesn't fall flat, but you can take that with you and put it on a resume, in a portfolio, and the next brand that comes to you, you can attribute that closing to that one campaign, right? So, in short, 6 big quick lessons from those 6 campaigns. Think in frameworks and be the architecture. But we also did something nice in the last 24 hours, because we started yesterday. We wanted to prolong the experience of re-commerce and not only have the experience in his room, but also outside of the room, which is why we put Fancard in front of the center today and have you participate in the contest. But e-commerce might end, but not with the pictures. So we all encourage you to still make some fan cards during the drinks, and please, if you have comments or it will let me know about the value that you got out of this. Let me know after the next 6 weeks. Thank you.